By contrast, on Donald Trump's watch, we were in a nationwide manufacturing recession before COVID struck. And we're now down nearly 650,000 manufacturing jobs across the country now. It's rising. In fact, Donald Trump will be the first president in modern American history to leave office, God willing, to leave office with fewer jobs than he had when he started in office. Last one was Herbert Hoover. For real. Folks, we can bring this economy back. I'm positive of it. I'm optimistic about it. We know how to go about doing an independent analysis on Wall Street. Moody's, a well-respected Wall Street firm, has done an in-depth analysis of every aspect of my plan, as well as his. You know what the conclusion was? This is Moody's now. That my plan will create 18.6 million jobs, 7 million more than his would, and $1 trillion more in economic growth than the president's plan. By investing in people.
And that is how you leveled the single most effective attack there is against Donald Trump. Why? Because Trump's entire candidacy, his entire presidency, is predicated on his ability to supposedly add jobs. The fact is that Donald Trump took office on the promise of creating 25 million new jobs. And now, as we head into the final days of his term, he's not only not created 25 million jobs, he hasn't created any jobs because he actually lost them as president. If Trump loses this election, it'll be the first time in modern American history that a president left office having actually lost jobs, with 4 million of them vanishing during his time in office. I guess when Republicans thought it would be a good idea to elect a businessman, they forgot to stipulate that it should be a good businessman. And Trump will, of course, diffuse responsibility. He'll point to the fact that the pandemic destroyed a record economy. But 2 points on that. One, it was his response to the pandemic that got us here. He doesn't get to not count it because it was bad. You don't get to tell your insurance company that you're a great driver except for the pedestrian that you hit and killed. The response to this pandemic is part of his presidency. The fact that he failed at containing it doesn't preclude him from counting it toward his numbers. It just means that he's a failure. And two, the economy wasn't a record economy even before the pandemic. In fact, it wasn't even as strong as Obama's economy. In the last 3 years of Obama's presidency, he added 2.7 million jobs on average. In the first 3 years of Trump's presidency, he added 2.2 million jobs on average. So not only was Trump never the jobs messiah that he promised to be, he literally couldn't even outpace the guy who was in office right before him. As for this idea that Trump oversaw some manufacturing renaissance in this country, that's not what we've seen. In fact, as of February, meaning before the pandemic hit, we'd lost 16,000 factory jobs in Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan in the past year alone, meaning Trump can't blame the pandemic. So I get that he wants to claim that manufacturing is back, but manufacturing has been on the decline for decades, and that trend wasn't reversed with Trump. In fact, it was only exacerbated given his response to this pandemic. Of course, that won't stop Trump from repeating this notion that he saved manufacturing, but just saying it isn't gonna will it into reality. Donald Trump was never interested in saving jobs, he was just interested in marketing it as if he had. The fact is that Trump was never well positioned to create jobs. By lowering the corporate tax rate to 21%, he didn't spur hiring or pay raises, he spurred stock buybacks and executive salary increases. Companies' top execs came away with millions of dollars that they kept for themselves, while hiring remained lackluster and, once the pandemic hit, fell off completely. And economists warn that catering to the rich with this obsolete trickle-down economic strategy would only lead to greater income inequality, and that's exactly what happened. But Trump didn't care, because he's not in it to help anyone but himself and people exactly like him. The fact is that despite the branding here, Biden is leagues better positioned to create jobs than Trump was. Consider that because Joe doesn't deny the existence of climate change, he's ready to make the United States the world's leader in clean energy jobs. Already renewables is the fastest growing sector, but by pandering to fossil fuel companies who donate money to his re-election campaign, Trump has held the United States back and ceded those jobs to other countries like China. Joe Biden will reverse that trend and fix the disastrous and backwards looking policies of Trump. Biden has also advocated for making the new markets tax credit permanent, which would draw billions of dollars in new capital to low income communities policies and bring them into the economy instead of Trump's policies that only push them further away. He'll create a new cities revitalization fund, bringing $10 billion into distressed cities. He'll drive legislation providing $5 billion in funding to encourage small business startups in places outside of big cities. And he'll even expand the Rural Micro-Entrepreneur Assistance Program to help rural entrepreneurs. The point is that Biden's plan focuses on everyone, not just the ultra-wealthy, and not just as a reward for campaign donations. The difference here could not be more clear. Trump turned 75 straight months of growth from the Obama-Biden administration into a net 4 million job loss. His mismanagement as president has been an unmitigated failure, and the American people simply can't afford another 4 years. If you like this video, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deep dive into the week's most important stories and interview major players in politics, including Kamala Harris, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Eric Swalwell, Mary Trump, Al Franken, Cory Booker, and many, many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.